Okay, so in the previous class we discussed about host parasite relationship, and we discussed that during this relationship they have a effect, the parasite have an effect on the host, while the host organisms also causes some effect on the parasite. Okay, although the effect of parasite on the host are uh, not that much, but effect of host on the parasite matters a lot. So we are going to uh, discuss the second one. We already discussed the effects on the parasite, what kind of effect is produced on the parasite if we take a nutritious food, then what is the effect of it, and if the hormones in the body which are present in the body, what kind of effect these hormones have on the growth of the parasite. Then the age is also one factor which affects, if you are like at younger stage you are more chances of getting these parasites, and then if you are of young, like if you are young and you are adult, then there are very less chances if you are between 20 to 30, and if you are you are in the old age, then there are more chances of these parasites being you are getting infected by these parasites. And fourth one was effect of immunity also plays very important role. Like if you have a strong immunity, there are chances that even if you are infected by these parasites, the symptoms won't be that severe, they will not be symptoms won't be visible, while if you have a weak immunity you will definitely show symptoms and you will get the disease which is caused by them. Okay, so that also depends on the immunity, whether your immune system is able to handle it or not. Then fifth one was effect of host specificity. Some parasites are very specific about their host. They need particular environment, especially nematodes, so they need particular environment. So if that environment is present, then only the parasite is going to infect. If that environment is not present, the hormones that he is looking for or the particular niche that the parasite is looking for is not present, then you won't be affected by it. The sixth one was the parasitic density. If you are already infected by the one parasite, then the chances of getting infected in some cases, the chances of getting infected with the same parasite are very less, while in some cases, more than one parasite could also be present. If more than one parasite is present, then the growth of those parasite would be stunted, because not because they will won't be getting any food, there will be shortage of food or something, but because they secrete some kind of chemicals which inhibits each other, which causes problem for each other. Okay, and the last one was effect of a host sex. Some of the parasites also choose the host on the basis of sex. They certain parasites prefer the female organism to grow some certain. We discuss one example, and certain prefers the male. Okay, so these were the effect of host on the parasite. Now effect on the host. What is the effect of parasite on the host? Now we'll discuss that. Okay, so sometimes the parasite bring about some changes within the host that may be interpreted as affecting the host welfare. In some cases, the parasite could cause drastic damage to the host, and in some cases, the person won't even notice that he or she is harboring these parasites. Okay, so that differ from parasite to parasite. And we know the purpose of these parasites to infect the host is basically to get a lifetime of free food supply, and the environment to reproduce exponentially. And so these are the main two reasons why parasites affect. So during doing this same process, like producing their eggs and then releasing it, or even migrating to its final location, so that could cause a lot of damage. The movement when they migrate from one location to the other location, that causes a lot of damage to the host tissue. Now we are going to see the details of these effect. So utilization of host food, the first and the foremost which we think is that parasite utilize the most of the host foods. Okay, so you might think that these parasites are very small, so the amount of nutrition that they must be taking should not affect the humans, because we should not affect the host, because the amount of food we take is certainly more than the amount of food required by the parasite. But the thing is that these parasites have their specific requirements. So not only they are only taking the carbohydrates and all that, but they also take those specific nutrients like vitamins or which are present in very small amount. So they take that, and because of which, because they have taken the nutrition which was required by the person, by the host, so it would cause certain serious consequences, it could cause certain symptoms. Okay, so let's read it and let's see. Utilization of host food is detrimental to a detrimental point by a parasite is probably the first kind of damage that comes to your mind. Okay, then since the amount of food microscopic parasite can utilize seems to be negligible, so we think they are very small, so how much food they're gonna take. But recent physiological studies of nutritional requirements, especially endoparasites, have indicated that they rob the host of a good amount of nutrition, resulting in serious consequences. And now they have given some example. Diphyllobothrium latum is the man in man has been known to cause an anemia. So Diphyllobothrium, it is a worm, and what it does, it causes anemia in case of humans. It causes anemia. And why it causes anemia? Because this tapeworm has a this tapeworm has the affinity to utilize the vitamin B12. Okay, it utilizes the vitamin B12. Cyanocobalamin is this name of this vitamin B12. So it utilizes and it absorbs as much as 20, 10 to 50 times as many vitamins as other tapeworms. So comparatively to other tapeworm, it utilizes lot of vitamin B12. And we already know the vitamins are very much essential, and they are required by us in very small amount. So when these tapeworms absorb the vitamin B12, and vitamin B12 is also play very important role in the blood formation. So here it plays a very important role in the blood formation. So what happens? So the blood formation will be affected, and when there is a very shortage of blood or something, we are in fact affected by anemia. We have anemia if there is a shortage of blood. So due to that nutritional requirement of the tapeworm is ripping these vitamin B12 from us, and because of which the person would be affected with this anemia. Okay, so it is similar to the pernicious anemia, which is another disease. Okay, so it is similar to that. Even though the person is not suffering from pernicious anemia, just because of this tapeworm, it would appear that the person is suffering from anemia. Okay, so we have to get rid of this, and then everything is cool. Now, second one is utilization of host non-nutritional materials. It's not that they utilize only the nutritious food or something. They also feed on substance other than nutrients. They feed on host blood. Some parasites feed on host blood. So here they also mention the amount of blood used by these parasite, like Exodus. In case of Exodus, 5 cc of blood they take every day. The number of parasites is could be 1,000. Then in this case also you can see, in case of sheep 1,000 they take 1 cc. And Encyclostoma, which is a old word hookworm, it also takes 250 cc. So what they do, they are stealing the blood. They're feeding on the blood of the host, and which could also cause the drop in the hemoglobin level, and which could also cause different problems. Okay, so this was a second, which in which they are not using any nutritional thing, but they are utilizing our blood. They are taking that, so that would cause problems. Destruction of host tissue. So we already discussed this one. So the parasite is capable of migrating. We discussed the parasite is capable of moving from one place to another. So when they are trying to enter, or either they are moving to its favorable destination where they want to move, favorable location, favorable organ. So when they move from one place to another, they generally cause a lot of tissue damage. Okay, so the parasite destroy the host tissues in two ways. The first one is, some parasites destroy the host tissue when they enter the host. So when they are trying to enter, when they are trying to force their entry, then they cause injury to certain organs. Then second way is, others inflict tissue damage after they have successfully entered. So once they have successfully entered, they migrate to their favorite location. So when they pass through the tissues, they damage it. When they are passing through lungs, and when they are passing through all that, they could damage the organ from which they are passing. So they have taken example of these two hookworms, Encyclostoma duodenal, which is old world hookworm. So in this case, what happens, the infected larva of a nematode do extensive damage to the cells and underlying connective tissue during the penetration of the host skin. So when they penetrate through the host skin, they cause uh, they cause extensive damage. Okay, तो वहां पे ये damage cause करते हैं. In case of cystosomes, they cause swimmer's itch. So while penetrating through the host skin, they damage the surrounding tissue. So these are two examples when they are trying to enter a body and they are causing this damage to the tissue. Okay, and there are many other examples. You can take the flukes and tapeworms initially damage the cell lining of the lumen of the host intestine because they are attached to it. They have rostellum or suckers, and they use it to bind to it, and so that in doing so, when they are absorbing the nutrients, they damage the lining of the intestine. Okay, and in case of Entamoeba histolytica, which causes amoebic dysentery. Okay, here it is, amoebic dysentery. So what they do when they're actively ingested, no, they actively ingest the epithelial cell linings of the host large intestine. So Entamoeba histolytica causing damage to the large intestine, while the tapeworms or flukes, they are causing damage to the small intestines. Okay, so they because so they could also causing the large ulcerations. So they not only damage, but they also cause ulceration, and inflammation could also be possible when they try to force their entry. तो वहाँ पे inflammation भी होता है. Okay, so these are some examples. There are many examples. Old Hukum, they've given one more example about it, so you can read these examples. Okay, what are the other possible effects? Is that abnormal growth? Okay, so one of the possible consequences of parasitism associated with the cell and tissue parasitism is a change in growth pattern of the affected tissue. So when they are growing in any particular tissue, then the way that that tissue is supposed to grow is also affected. वहां पर उस पर भी effect पड़ता है. Okay, so the changes can be broadly divided into four main types. They have divided these changes into four types. First one is hyperplasia, which is increase in the rate of cell division. So यहाँ पे they have taken one example. The presence of trematode fasciola hepatica in bile ducts is known to affect rapid division of lining epithelial cells. So fasciola hepatica, those organisms, those hosts which have fasciola hepatica in them, we call it sheep liver fluke. Okay, so this sheep liver fluke affects the rapid division of lining epithelial cells. So if lining epithelial cells are dividing rapidly, which means it could be infected by fasciola hepatica. Then they have taken one more example, the egg of the Schistosoma hematobium. Schistosoma hematobium is I think blood worm, blood worm, I think it's Cystosoma hematobium, yeah, it's a bloodworm. So these acts of Cystosoma hematobium with their tiny spiny projections are known to irritate the transitional epithelium of the human urinary bladder and cause hyperplasia. So Cystosoma hematobium causes the uh, epithelium of the urinary bladder to irritate and to divide. Okay, so these are the effects of these parasites ki how they are increasing the rate of cell division. You can learn these two examples. One is fasciola hepatica, which is sheep liver fluke, and cystosomiatum, which is a bloodworm. Okay, now hypertrophy is increasing in the cell size. So in some cases they increase the size of the cell which they are affecting. For example, during erythrocytic phase of the Plasmodium vivax, we know Plasmodium has four species, I guess, or five. Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium falciparum. So it has four stages. Okay, so these Plasmodium vivax, what it does, the parasitized red blood cells are commonly enlarged. Obviously, when Plasmodium vivax stage of Plasmodium vivax is present in these RBCs, and which are in very good amount, most rarely it should be sporozoid. RBCs के time पर sporozoid ही present होता है. So when the large number of these are present within the RBCs, so the size, obviously it will increase. Okay, then we have another which is metaplasia. We know metaplasia, we have discussed metaplasia, transformation of one type of tissues into the another. So metaplasia describes the changing of one type of tissue to another without the intervention of the embryonic tissue. For example, lung fluke, which is Paragonimus, parasitizes man and carnivore. The normal cuboidal cells lining the bronchioles commonly undergo hyperplasia and metaplasia and are transferred to stratified epithelium. So you can see the bronchioles lining is converting into is transforming into stratified epithelium. And why it is doing so? It is doing because of the presence of this lung fluke Paragonimus. It must be producing some chemicals or some stuff which is causing these bronchioles lining, cell lining, which is cuboidal in shape, cuboidal cell lining, into stratified epithelium. So it is also a fact of it. Then we have neoplasia, which is a tumor. Okay, it is a neoplastic tissue. We discussed. You must have heard about it. Okay, neoplasia. It is a growth of cells in a tissue to form a new structure, which is we call tumor. So extra dividing cells, we call them tumors. So, okay, so neoplastic tumor is not inflammatory and is not required for the repair of organs. Okay, and does not conform to a normal growth pattern. Basically, it just we are talking about tumor. So excess growth is taking place right here, and which could be the cause of cancer as well. So hyperplasia, so it could cause these four changes. First, it could cause hypertrophy, it could cause metaplasia, it could cause neoplasia, and it could cause hyperplasia. So it could cause these changes. Parasite could cause these changes in the these kind of growths in the body in certain organisms. Okay, the hypoplasia resulting from parasitic infection may result in neoplastic reactions. So they are using the term may. It's not sure. It's not that if you are infected with it, then definitely you will have these symptoms, or you will have this cancer growth or tumoral formation. In some cases, in some extreme cases, it could be present. Okay, so development of tumors from existing tissue and all this neoplastic development is caused by Cystosoma mansoni. Okay, Cystosoma mansoni is also uh, Cystosoma is also a worm, Hematobium and mansoni. These are type of bloodworm. Okay, then we have uh, they have given many other examples which could cause tumors in like tinea. They have taken the example of tinea, so you can study these examples as well. Then effect of toxins, secretions, excretion, and poison. So uh, these parasites could also release certain chemicals which could be toxins, which could be poisons, and something that they excrete could also cause the inflammation or irritation. So whatever, if the chemical that they are producing, their presence itself could cause the irritation and could cause the damage to the host. Okay, so they have given some examples like the irritating parasite that elicits an allergic reaction. So they're taking an example of Cystosoma. So Cystosoma cercariae is causing the cercarial dermatitis, which is kind of allergic reaction. तो वहाँ पे वो inflammation cause करते हैं. Okay, so why they are causing this? They must be releasing some kind of chemical, must release some kind of toxins which is causing this. Okay, so you can read the example. So these were the effects, and these were the effects. First one was mm, destruction of utilization of host food. Then we discussed utilization of non-nutritional material, in which we discussed utilization of blood. And in host food, in case of host food, discussed about vitamin B12, which was causing anemia. And then in damage to the host tissue, we discuss whether when they will move, either they will force their entry, then they will cause the damage to the host tissue, or when once they have entered inside, then they will migrate to their favorable location where they grow, then they will cause the damage to the host tissue. Then fourth one is abnormal growth. Abnormal growth, we discussed many types of abnormal growth: metaplasia, hyperplasia, and all that. Okay, so abnormal growth seen, even we can take example of one Entamoeba histolytica, which causes elephantiasis, I guess. So that is also abnormal growth. Then fifth one, we discussed about effect of toxins. they could secrete some chemicals and some poisons, and some they could excrete something which could cause inflammation or cause allergic reactions. Okay, so they could cause all that. These are 5 points we have discussed today, and this is it for today. We'll discuss other points